All right, so kind of to start it off, I'm going to give a little bit of background going on with my own personal experience with athletics, right? So to take it back to the jump, my uncle, actually, Frank, if you know him, you know him, you love him, you love him. But he really started to get me into boogie boarding. Believe it or not, when I was 3 years old, he started, and I didn't like it. Let's be honest, I didn't like it as at first. It was definitely something that I didn't love, but then as it went on, it became something that was really, honestly, some of those times when I was boogie boarding with I Want Milk Now, Adam, all right, some of you know him, some of you love him, so basically, I would go about this and I would be boogie boarding. I would love it, right? I began to love it. I didn't like it at first because guess what? I sucked. And I also didn't like to do, I did like to just fool around and, play Power Rangers or something like that. But, and actually that might have been the first stuff was the Power Rangers and playing with my neighbors. So, right? So taking it from there with the boogie boarding, we were boogie boarding when we were like 13, and that was the thing. 12, 11, 13, not 13, okay? All right. But anyway, so my relationship with exercise, right, to that point really been something that was pretty much 90% enjoyable, right? And that's another story that coincided with that, right? So that's another plot point is when at the same time when I was 5, I started playing football. Funny story though, I show up to practice, my mom rolls up in the RAV4, she parks it, we hop out, I start bawling my eyes out. The commissioner of the rec league comes up, and it's not the commissioner, anyway, it's not the commissioner who now the son dates my sister. It's a different commissioner at that point. Anyway, this commissioner comes up and he, starts, oh, no, it's okay, Jordan, it's okay. And he's like, telling my parents, what do you want to do? Do you want to bring him back? And my dad was like, nah, he's gonna tough it out. And I was really still crying, because I like to eat food, I like to chill out. I like to, be in the dunes, the sand, and tell stories or whatever. I really wasn't the football kind of guy. So then start playing, and I start to enjoy it and whatnot. It starts to be, really after the second year. That's when I started to really enjoy. I would play line. I was a thicker kid, as I discussed in my last. Start to enjoy it, and as discussed in the food, with that relationship with food. But it really started to be something I enjoyed, right? And so it really was something. I played line. I liked playing tackle. I liked playing DN more. I liked, trying to get to the quarterback and whatnot. Really until, let's see, 7th grade. I was given the opportunity, very fortunate, because for the time being, all I knew was line, and that's really kind of where they put me at. And conveniently, the first time there was an opportunity for everyone to try a different position, I tried quarterback. My parents, everybody thought it was a joke, right? But I knew that I could throw a baseball decent, and nothing special. I knew I could throw, and I wanted to give it a go because I liked to throw the football with my dad. And lo and behold, the coach actually gave me a chance to be the backup. And still, people thought it was a joke until the starter got hurt and I filled in. And so that was definitely high nerves, right? But still high enjoyment, right? It was still something where I wouldn't say I was getting any distress from it. So following that, right, I have that 1 year. And then the next year, I'm the starter for the one weight group. And that was a really fun year, honestly. It really was a time where I got to learn this position, and 131 flood pass was my favorite, But at this point, it was really an effective relationship, an effective way for me to be doing sports, right? Nothing really was ineffective. And then, starting in high school where really it became more so about myself, and it was a lot more about how you were doing, and a lot more, you wanted to be good at every single sport you did. And that's when it wasn't as fun, and it was more about what you were putting out there, more about the result. And that's going to tie into my end point and why it's not about working out, it's not about the result, and it's more about, and I'll get to that point. Anyway, back to the story, it's starting to be a little more stressful, and until I started doing track, right? So because of whatever frustrating circumstances, and really it happens to, different situations, there's different variables at play, and it's going to happen to all of us at one point in our life where it might not seem fair, but in the grand scheme of this, it's not that big of a deal. So I switch and I try out track. I didn't quit though. I did it through the full year. I played through. I've always, stressed to not quit something, right? And then that's a good mindset to have, unless it is something that you truly feel that, this is not for me. But when it's something that there's still reasons for wanting to be in it, then I would say try to stick through it. Do your best to try to stick through it. So anyway, I'm chilling. I'm enjoying the sport of track, right? I start doing track, and it was something that, honestly, and there's no comparison. There's a little bit in swimming and maybe in wrestling even, but in regards to the atmosphere, you're not going to beat track. I'm sorry, on a team atmosphere, you're not going to beat track. There's no, maybe you'll have teams that will get close, but on a whole, on a spectrum, you can ask anyone who's done track, and they'll say that they had a team and an atmosphere that was most likely, on average, a little bit more effective than other sports. Because there is that element of individualism, and it's not so much, tied in together. But I did start to enjoy it until I got in my own mind of my own, it became so much. So when you're trying to get better at something, and you continually, you look at, your physical size, your speed, and mainly with pole vault and high jump, you'd look at these things and you'd hit the wall. You'd say, what's going on here? Why am I still at this level? Right? And that really, honestly, that played its way all the way until my third last year in college doing track. And that's when it started. There was a year, and I'm going to show a picture right here. There was a year when it was training for the decathlon, doing all the different events, right? You could never stay disappointed in one area because it was on to the next, right? And sometimes, these things in sports and in different roles we take, it can have a play with how things are in the greater scheme of things. A really nice time, honestly, training with some of my best friends at that point, some of my good friends, in that photo, and many others at that same time. And as someone who was fortunate enough to do the multi events, you can train with the sprinters, the jumpers, the throwers. You get to know everyone on the team. So it's really, a nice, and it is what you make it, right? If you want to be and just just go on and not really interact with other people, then that's what it is. But that really was a point where I started to shift, and it became more about that process. I loved practice. I loved coming in and just pushing what I had in each individual event. It didn't matter about what my team, it was all good. It didn't matter. Unless Brewster, if you passed me in a rep, then I remembered. That's cool, but it was cool, whatever. You were getting faster, and I was already in good shape, and it was always a frustrating thing because I always did things year-round, and people would always catch up to me like, and somehow these people started to get better. But again, there was some years in high school where I didn't do as much running training as I probably should have. But no, he's a fast kid. But back to the main plot of this whole thing, right? That point is when I started to see that, that point. And then I had an injury in my back that was really, really serious. And maybe not, no, let me take that. To me, it was really, really serious because it was a scary thing. There was a few days where very, freaky, you're barely walking, you feel like a different person. And in that time and in that period, that's when I really reflected. And, I actually had a professor who I had in grad school who gave these assignments that we had to do, hundreds of, it was just busy work. But it was within that where I actually I got enjoyment, and I actually got, other than just, sports, other than just these outside factors, right? So really at the same time, and I'm very fortunate that all of this kind of
combined.
the right point at this time for me to actually enjoy it. And that last year of track, it was really, really all about enjoying it. And in the end, I had a couple things I PR'd in at the end, and in the end, there was some things I had shortcomings. But I remember it, and it's one thing that I want, everyone to hopefully at one point have a memory that's similar to this, is at the end of the 1500, the last event of the decathlon, I was beyond blessed to have people from other teams like Nick Falk and Mikey Z and all those who were at different schools, the kids who were at the same school. I had, my girlfriend, my teammates, my friends, people, my parents were there. It was raining, and it was the last, and at that moment, it all hit me, like all of it. My dad throwing in the yard with me, the football, everything just led up. And it just hits you that it's not all those moments where I did things that didn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, where I cared so much about how I did. That was distressing to me. All of that didn't matter anymore. And that's when, reflecting on that, and I will push, right? I didn't start off like that. No one does. But I will push each and every one of you to get to the point of this video, right? How to stay fit and be healthy and never work out. When a lot of the times when in our language, right, we're looking at working out as something that's not necessarily a positive thing, not a fun thing. But I will challenge all of y'all, find one thing that you can consistently do for as many years as your body will allow you to, and it'll have effects on your mental, physical, social, all the aspects will be at a healthier spot. And that's really, sorry I made you stay till the end for that. But also, I talked a lot about my relationship with food, and it definitely a lot of ties in. So I would check that video out as well. Also, Superhero Lessons. I am a therapist, so if you want to check out that account as well, I talk through different counseling theories and whatnot. But thanks for taking the time. Till the next one.